I know that especially for Don in his earlier work is very much focused on UFO. So some of the channeling sessions were questions about the UFO. Can you share some information on that?
Well, there are UFOs from both positively and negatively oriented entities, and both polarities are here in the Earth's environment in order to aid in the harvest or the graduation in both the positive and the negative sense. Now, the negatively oriented entities have to be able to get through the quarantine I mentioned. And in order to make it through the quarantine, there is a difficulty because unless there is a calling, unless there is a sufficient number of entities on Earth calling for the negative information, then the negative entities are not allowed to go through that quarantine. However, those of the fifth density negative have magical abilities. They can find what are called windows of opportunity, little places that pop up every now and then that allow them to go through. This is a way that the Confederation or the Council of Saturn, which is a member of the Confederation, they have the responsibility to look out for the welfare of planet Earth, and they enforce that quarantine. These little windows of opportunity can be accessed by magically oriented fifth density entities, so they can slip through, as has happened a number of times apparently. But the positive entities come through even though there is a quarantine. They are allowed to go through if there is a calling for their information. This Council of Saturn has the responsibility of seeing that every person on Earth that calls for information of a positive or negative way has the opportunity to get that information so they can exercise their free will to make the choice of positive or negative polarity. So UFOs are a portion of our graduation process. Ross suggested that in general, for the positively oriented UFOs, if they can cause the population of our planet to consider the concept of infinity, that is a real blessing, because if we start thinking about infinity, then we start thinking about how large the universe is there a creator, what is my place in it, we're more likely to become spiritual beings. So to simply provide this mysterious, effect of UFOs, what is it? I don't know. Where do you think it comes from? Well, they must be somewhere else in the universe. There must be life elsewhere. They must be more evolved than we are. Can we do that? So that's the whole idea.
But yet it's probably not as strong as to influence free will. If the aliens start popping up, you start to question it. And is that correct?
Right. A lot of times the UFOs only appear to people that are ready to see them. There can be 5 or 10 people in a group. Maybe a UFO shows up, 1 or 2 people see it. The others don't see it. Because those 2 people, or 1 or 2, are ready to see it. They are receptive to the possibility of infinity. What could apprehend, infinity? What could that mean?
That makes sense. Why certain groups that invite and bring UFO, like they do deep meditation sessions before to prepare, I guess, the right energy and to channel them to come through.
That does happen.
So now just shifting gears to wanting to ask about you personally. During all these 106 sessions, do you find it was it fun? Was it intense? Was it draining? What was it like for you?
It was amazing. It was a mountaintop experience. It was something that I don't think I would ever have imagined could happen until it happened. Everybody had heard of channeling up to that point, but this type of channeling where Carla left her body, she wasn't in her body. Ra was using it. And Ra wasn't in her body either. She truly was an instrument being used to make words in response to Don's questions. And the type of information that came out of it was just so mind-blowing. Don, and after that first session, he said, could you transcribe this as soon as possible? Because this is what we've been waiting for. I said, right now? Yes, please. And so I started transcribing it. And as the further I went, I thought, oh my goodness, this is amazing. Because it was just so profound and so precise. The use of words is, some people do have difficulty with the use of the words because they're advanced concepts.
Yes.
They have very large vocabulary. And sometimes you got to go to the dictionary and look up what does that word mean. So yeah, it was truly magical. It was so fulfilling. Uh, Don and Carl and I had this harmony between us that Ross suggested was really the reason they could work through our group. The harmony supported the contact. And I think it was because they mentioned we had been together before. We didn't remember any of these incarnations, but they said we had been together. So I have a hunch that being together before, we had built this harmony that we now manifested. And it was just so wonderful to be together and to be able to do this. And it was mind-blowing because Ra could answer any question you asked as long as it didn't infringe upon your free will
Yeah.
or the free will of others. So that was the only thing that blocked any information. Most of the time, though, the questions that Don asked, and I was so amazed at his being able to formulate so many intelligent questions. Some of them he already had written out. We would determine questions the night before a session, but some of them were on the spur of the moment.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've ever listened to a tape recording of the channeling.
Yeah.
It's very slow and precise.
Yes.
Every syllable is enunciated very clearly. But you have to listen carefully to get the whole message.
Yes.
And Don had this ability to do that, to hear what was being said, to think of a question to follow up, and to keep going on a train of questions there. So it just seemed like it was something that was meant to be. And we were thrilled to be there, absolutely thrilled.